If you guys love the NFL Draft as much as we do, then make sure you are subscribed to our NFL Draft YouTube channel. This video first aired over there, so go hit that sub button if you haven't already. I know it's been a little bit, but we are back talking about the 2025 NFL Draft on today's show. Tom Downey here. ESPN recently posting a new 2025 mock draft from Matt Miller. We'll break that down, which I thought was pretty interesting. Before we get there, we are entering something we haven't seen in over a decade. The return of a college football video game, thank goodness. Will you buy CFB 25? Sound off for me. Y for yes, N for no. Underrated aspect? We're going to get comments like, well, you should draft this guy because he was good in the video game. Can't wait to have that back. Pick number 1 was a trade for Matt Miller. The number 6 overall pick going to the Patriots with a 2025 second rounder, a first, and a future second round pick as well. The argument was it was similar to the DJ Moore trade, which of course it is not because you know that the didn't include a player as part of this deal, so I don't really think that's fair comparison, but I think the overall value is right. You come up to number 1 for one main reason in particular. You're going after a quarterback. Carson Beck was the pick here for Matt Miller, by Matt Miller for the Giants. Probably the number 1 QB right now, at least with how the NFL feels about him. He's also not, wouldn't have been a top 4 maybe quarterback in this past year's class. Another year of growth to go there. The Giants are in the quarterback market. They're probably going to have to draft somebody. It's just, I don't love this quarterback class overall. All right, pick number 2 to the Panthers was also traded. This one to the Raiders for a future first and, again, a future second round pick. So a lot of assets being moved here early on. Raiders obviously coming up for a quarterback as well, and it is a bigger name, Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. I like what Sanders offers. I think he is a really good college quarterback with an intriguing NFL future. I think you got to win a lot more games, have more success, not hold the ball as long to really be worthy of the number 2 overall pick. ESPN is going to push him hard to the extent that he's probably going to be viewed as overrated from a national perspective. How do you feel Shedeur Sanders is currently rated in terms of we'll call it big media, right? O for he's overrated, U for he's underrated, P for he is properly rated. It is the pinned comment on today's video, so if the ad comes on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Number 3, Will Johnson out of Michigan. This is maybe the best player available argument. I don't know if Denver needs another corner when you've got Patrick Surtain too, but I think Johnson is a superstar caliber player, so I get the angle there. Left tackle might be a bigger need, but we've got a lot of time to see how that all ends up playing out. Number 4, Tennessee takes Tennessee's James Pierce Jr. Not often that ends up happening. Pair him opposite Harold Landry. Okay. I do wonder if edge is their biggest need, but I think Pierce is an awesome football player and worthy of a top 5 pick as it sits right now. Love this pick for the Washington Commanders at number 5, Kelvin Banks Jr. Maybe it's Will Campbell, who actually goes number 6 overall here to the Patriots, and we'll group these 2 guys together. This could end up being a Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater type of conversation. Not the best arm length for either guy, I think, necessarily either. But you're filling massive needs and protecting your franchise quarterback. That makes sense for both of those teams. Number 7 is Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. Don't sleep on his teammate Kenneth Grant either. Defensive tackle is a big need for Michigan. I think Graham is worthy of being in the top 10 conversation. So 3 straight picks in a row I like. And I'm on board with the number 8 pick, too. Luther Burden. The Panthers here take him to give a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. Now, look, you're adding Xavier Legette into this conversation again here, which you're adding a lot of assets to make Bryce Young great. I think that makes sense. And I think Burden is going to be the top receiver taken, depending on where you count Travis Hunter. Is he a wide receiver? Is he a corner? I think he can do both. Now, I do wonder if you want him to specialize at one spot to make him the best version of himself. And I would argue maybe corner is the spot to go with because there's a little bit harder to find top-end corners. I think it is to find, number 1 caliber receivers. Played more snaps on defense. He's an awesome football player. I think corner's a huge need for Arizona. I think you should go top 10. Quinn Ewers is the pick here by the Saints at number 10. The raw talent is there, but the deep ball accuracy is terrible. There are times it looks fantastic, but it's really inconsistent. The footwork I can't stand. The raw talent's there. It has to be developed properly. If he takes a step forward like I think he can, he'll be worthy of the top 10 conversation. But it's a big, big projection. Tetairoa McMillan out of Arizona is a giant human being with a great catch radius. Got to add some more mass. He's a fun football player. I think top 12 is a fine conversation for him. Adding him with a team that has Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith in Jigba is not the route I probably would have gone. My biggest issue with this mock draft is here at number 12. And we will label the position designation as ESPN does it. Matt Miller's got Harold Perkins as an edge rusher, saying he's going to move back to edge in new defensive coordinator Blake Baker's scheme, which by all accounts is not actually the plan. Now, Miller claimed he talked to Blake Baker, which I find interesting. He's also like 6'1", 215. He's built like Jamal Adams, not an actual pass rusher. You can blitz him, yes, but I don't think adding him to the rotation of edge rusher is accurate. I think he's a linebacker who can blitz. So I fundamentally disagree with that from Matt Miller. Benjamin Morrison, number 13, the Notre Dame corner. He's not that far behind Will Johnson. They need another one. No complaints there at all. Colston Loveland to the Colts, I think, will be a popular pick given the way the Colts want to run their offense, and Loveland is pretty clearly regarded as the consensus top tight end in this year's class. More picks to come, but if you want this past year's NFL rookie class jersey, go to chatsports.com/NFL jersey. All the NFL jerseys, minus the Marvin Harrison weirdness going on, are available, I should say, at chatsports.com/NFL jersey with the updated numbers for pretty much all of them. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Jacksonville going to go with Emory Jones out of LSU, which I guess you're going to flip Anton Harrison over to left tackle. Some might view Jones as a guard, by the way. Browns at 16 take Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Okay, it's fine. If you're going to get a Micah Parsons comparison, this is the one. He actually is an off-ball linebacker going to move back down to edge rusher full-time, although you're not going to get actual Micah Parsons most likely. Mykel Williams out of Georgia could have an even earlier Trayvon Walker-like rise in the top 10, top 5. There's a lot of love for him in the NFL. A lot of projection involved there. He's kind of a part-time player. I think he's primed for a massive breakout season. So sure, why not add him if you are Chicago? This is also projection. Evan Stewart transferring from Texas A&M to Oregon. Hadn't had great production. Tez Johnson's also back. Dylan Gabriel will air it out some. Outside fit alongside Ladd McConkey, I think could make some sense. All right, 2 quarterbacks here. First up is Connor Wigman, who I don't see top quarterback buzz like some people do. I need to see him play games. Like, he hasn't played enough for me. Like, he was good in 4 games last year. There was like one good team he played, and he wasn't as good in that game. So there's some traits and talent to like there. A lot of projection involved. The Jets at 20 take Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame, formerly at Duke. He wasn't good last year. He struggled with injuries. There's good dual threat ability. This is like some Daniel Jones vibes where he needs to get better as an actual passer. That could happen at Notre Dame this year. But 20 is really aggressive to me. Also, there's 5 quarterbacks in this first round in a class that is not well regarded by the NFL as we sit currently. Someone will emerge. There'll be a Heisman winner. I'm pretty confident about that one. But how many QBs go in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft? Get those predictions in for me in the comments of today's show. Number 21, Deion Walker out of Kentucky. I'm a huge fan of his game. You do not see people his size move like this. He could easily be a top 10 pick in this year's class. JT Tuimoloau has been a pretty consistent late first round, way too early mock draft prediction, but he's gone back a couple of years in a row now. The flashes are there. The consistency is not, and we're running out of time for that to emerge. Jonah Savanaia, I think that's how it's pronounced, tackle for Arizona, listed as a guard, which I don't actually hate. I think he could very well move down inside in the NFL. My issue here is the Texans have Laramie Tunsil, Blake Fisher, Kenyon Green, Juice Scruggs, Shaq Mason, Titus Howard, 5 offensive linemen paid or drafted in the top 60 picks. Another one is maybe not the most likely outcome. Tyreek Williams, who might be the first Ohio State player drafted. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. A little bit undersized. Maybe you're going to move on from Kenny Clark. Makes sense to me for Green Bay. The Bengals at 25 taking Isaiah Bond. I mean, they did draft Jermaine Burton. They have other players like Charlie Jones and Andre Yoshivas, but if Burton doesn't super impress, maybe they could go down the wide receiver route. Bond spent last year at Alabama. Now going to go to Texas and get a lot of targets with Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell gone. If you guys want even more NFL draft videos, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/chatNFL for even more NFL draft coverage right here on the channel. Nick Scorton, the Purdue to Texas A&M transfer, I think he's primed for a huge season and will get more attention in the SEC versus Purdue. I'm excited to see how he fares. Bills have a need. Makes sense. I think you're going to see a lot of insert running back pick to 27 or wherever the Cowboys are picking. Quinshawn Judkins. Well, they'll do the Zeke comp, even though it's not necessarily fair. Ole Miss to Ohio State transfer wasn't as efficient last year. I bet that bounces back up behind a good offensive line, and he'll split some time with Travion Henderson. The Eagles don't normally go safety early, but Malachi Starks is really good, and I think the consensus top safety, so I wouldn't complain about that one at all. The Ravens could actually use another guard, and Tyler Booker, as an SEC player who the Ravens love taking SEC boys early, I think it makes sense. The Lions, Emeka Egbuka, who I think actually fits decently. Maybe you want just a bigger guy with to pair with Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. But Egbuka didn't have a great year last year, was super banged up. I'm glad he went back. Now he gets a chance to be the wide receiver 1 for a team that has a bunch of really good wide receivers again. Intrigued by the inclusion of Anthony Belton here out of NC State. Now, Belton, I think, needs time. I don't think he's immediately ready to go quite yet, but there's a lot of intriguing traits for a massive human being right there. We'll see how they play. He argues Suamatai is going to be the right tackle, and then maybe you draft Belton to play left tackle. I think tackle's a potential area of concern once Jawan Taylor moves on, so I don't mind that one at all. Ajani Cornelius out of Oregon, and I would maybe argue Josh Connolly's the better one of the two Oregon linemen, but they're both pretty damn good. I think he does fit the scheme pretty well for San Francisco, and at some point, they've got to move on from Trent Williams because age waits for no man eventually. But I do think tackle makes sense. So grade that ESPN NFL mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F. Sound off for me in the comments. A couple other offensive linemen I want to mention here briefly. Ernest Green out of Georgia, might be a guard, although he's playing left tackle for Georgia, was the reason why Marius Mims stayed on the right side. Kenneth Grant should not be slept on, although I think other people are out there in media. I think I've heard good word from an NFL team about him. Princely Uman-Mielen is a sleeper. I thought he could have turned pro and been a top 70, if not higher, pick out of Florida. Now going to Ole Miss. 2 corners I like, Denzel Burke and Takario Davis out of Ohio State and Arizona, respectively.